Hello, welcome to the Eclectic Philatelist, episode number 2. I'm Joseph. Glad you're here. Today's subject, as you might have noticed from some of the little short video clips on the lead-in, is a little bit different than a typical topical collection of stamps. Today is what I call a micro-topic. And what I mean by that is often when collectors collect topical stamps, there are a great many stamps available for that particular topic. For example, Domestic Cats on Stamps have thousands of stamps available. There are many other topics as well that have thousands or hundreds of stamps available. But what about a topic that has only tens of stamps available, or maybe 5 stamps available, or maybe even less, maybe just 1? Well, today's subject is something called Kendama. Now, what is Kendama? This is a kendama. Kendama is a Japanese skill toy consisting of basically 2 parts connected by a string. This part, the wooden part, is called the ken. The ken is Japanese for sword. This is a tama, which is a ball. Has a little hole in the bottom. It's a beveled edge around of it. And they're connected by a string. And together, this toy is called kendama. And kendama is a skill toy. In other words, it's used to manipulate the ball and the ken into various tricks and almost juggling maneuvers. The ken has 4 parts for it. It's what players, and we call people who practice kendama players. It has a big cup. It has a small cup, smaller diameter. It has a base cup, and it has a spike. And then the ball, as you might have noticed in some of the slow motion video clips on the lead-in, those were a few of the very basic beginner maneuvers with a kendama that a player might learn in the first hour or so of picking up the device, where the ball is tossed into the air and it's caught on various parts of the kendama. Now, there are some very elaborate maneuvers with kendama, and I'll put some links into the description of the video that show players who are actually professionals and who compete in kendama around the world, and they're doing some absolutely stunning and amazing tricks with this device, with this little toy. And I first got into this recently. I had always been a juggler, and there may be a future video on that particular topic. But as a juggler, I was always interested in manipulation of objects in the air. And when I saw some first videos of this, I thought, well, I've got to try it. And I tried it, and I'm still a beginner, starting to learn some of the tricks and things like this. But it's a lot of fun. It's good for hand-eye coordination. And in Japan, there's a couple of interesting facts. Besides young people using it all over the world, and professionals, like I said, and doing these amazing tricks, Japan is also used for senior citizens to help promote hand-eye coordination and to keep that in shape. And also, if you noticed in some of the little clips, and if you watch any other kendama videos on YouTube, you'll see them always bending at the knees and coming back up. And the reason for that is so that the ball, when you bend the knee and then straighten up again, the ball will come up in a straight line, and then it's easier for the player to manipulate the ball and to catch it. If it wasn't in a straight line, it could go off and spin, and then the trick's going to fail. It's going to be much more difficult to do. In Japan, they also have rankings. Actually, it's very similar to martial arts, where kendama players will be tested on very basic maneuvers, starting with the very basic ones in the lead-in videos. That was just catching the ball on big cup, little cup, base cup, and spike, things like this, up to a very advanced, very complex tricks. And the rankings are almost like martial arts, where there's different rankings as you progress up into it. Now, I've been collecting kendamas, and since this channel is kind of about matching collections of objects to stamps that depict that topic or the object. So I've got a few kendamas here. This is another kendama. You can tell that the ball is painted just a little bit different color. There's different woods for the wooden part here as well. There's different woods and different paints for the ball. Kind of fascinating, all the different variations that you can get on these little toys here. This is my newest one. It's called the Monarch design, sort of a monarch butterfly design. Kind of cute, kind of neat. I like that one. And collectors, we're always looking for the unique. This is also a kendama. Tiny little souvenir kendama. And then, of course, coming from Japan, the land of Godzilla, this is also a kendama. If you're throwing this one around trying to catch this ball, you better be careful. This hurts. I can testify to that. So kendama, again, I'll post some links in the description of the video so you can watch some players who really know what they're doing with this device, and that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. Now, one of the other things I like about this type of topic and its relation to stamp collecting is the fact that we often bemoan the fact that younger people aren't getting into stamp collecting. Well, sometimes at a show or something, I may talk to a younger person, or a parent brings a younger person in, and the young man or young woman will say something like, stamp collecting looks kind of boring. It's just a bunch of old men on stamps or something. But topical collecting, I think, is a great way to get younger people involved, or to get new people involved in the hobby of stamp collecting. Because with topical collecting, you can find various topics that are really of interest to someone new to the hobby, especially younger people. Showing someone kendama, for example, and then showing them that stamps actually depict kendama, and it can be a lead-in there. And also, it's a future video that I'm going to do is going to be about how to display these things, especially for micro topics, and new people in the hobby and younger people might enjoy that aspect too. Because if a topic has very few stamps, maybe just a couple or a handful, you don't want to just stick them in a binder and kind of put it on a shelf somewhere, especially if you're like me and you collect the objects themselves and the stamps. I might have a shelf for all of my kendamas or some kind of a display case, but within that, in the display case or on the shelf, I might also have the postal items that depict kendama displayed in a frame and placed next to these devices as well. So I think that's another way that you can get people interested in it. That's not just accumulating a lot of stamps and putting them in a binder and sticking them on the shelves here a little bit. So let's take a little bit of a look at some of the postal items that I found for kendama and some of the history of that, and let's get into that aspect of it. As I got into collecting kendama, of course, as mainly a stamp collector, my first thought was, are there any stamps that depict kendama? And of course, it being a Japanese skill toy, I first looked through my catalogs of Japanese stamps to see if there was such a thing. And as I was doing that, I also was looking online and seeing if any dealers that specialize in topical items might have something. I wasn't finding a whole lot at first, and then I just did a Google search and just searched kendama on postage stamps. And one of the first images that came up, I'll put up on the screen here, is this postal card. And this postal card on the front depicts a painting, which is called White Smoke Chazu. I'm not sure of the pronunciation there, by a famous Japanese artist. I'll put the text on the graphic in the video here. It's a depiction, a painting of a famous mountain that's in Fukushima Prefecture. And the thing that intrigued me about this postcard wasn't so much the front, although I really do like the painting here on the front. It's the reverse of this postal card. You'll notice the postage stamp that's up in the upper left-hand corner here depicts a kendama. And it's one of the first items, or it is the first item that I ever found that depicted a kendama on postage. And this is from 1991, and this is an unused mint postal card. And so the image is very clean. I'll put up a photo of a little bit of a close-up of that image of the kendama. And it shows the ken and the tama with the hole with the belled edge and the string connecting the two. It's an excellent little portrait of the device. And so I immediately had to find someone that had some of these and were willing to sell one of these, and I acquired one for my collection. It did take me a while to identify the image on the front of that mountain, but fortunately the stamp collecting community is always willing to help each other out. And on Facebook there was a Japanese stamp Facebook group, and I posted the picture of this card up there, and someone came back with me and identified the artist of the painting's name, and so forth. So I think that was very, very helpful. And then as I went back to the Scott catalogs, I found a set from 1991, and there was a set of Japanese stamps in a collection entitled Playthings. And the Playthings collection of stamps from that year was kind of intriguing because, as you can see from the graphic, some of the stamps are not just standard square or rectangular shapes. There's round shapes, there's other types of shapes that apply to these stamps. They all depict traditional Japanese toys, whether they're tops or little boats or anything like that. And the interesting thing for me in my search was the one at the bottom that shows a kendama. And here again it shows the kendama with the tama, which the ball resting on top of the spike. And I love the shape of this stamp. The shape fits the outline of the shape of a kendama with the ball attached on top of the spike. And so I added the individual stamp and the complete set of playthings from Japan to my collection. Now, so far, this is the only set of stamps and the only individual stamp that I found that depicts kendama. And that's why this falls into my category of what I call a micro topic. Now, I haven't yet set up a display for this, but what I'm planning is to expand my shelf space. I'm running out of room of my shelves for my actual kendamas. And when I expand the shelf space, I'm going to take these stamps and arrange them in a frame of some type, also with that postal card, and perhaps put little titles, at least the year of the stamps and that type of information, and the title of the painting on some way to display that when I combine my actual kendamas and the postal items that I found, and make a pretty nice display on that. So once I get that done, I'll probably update that on my website. But I think this is a good introduction to what I call micro topics. We don't always have to go find an item, a topic that has hundreds of stamps to add to a collection. Sometimes it can be a great deal of fun and kind of educational to just find an unusual item and see if there are any postal items that depict that item. And you might be surprised on this at what you might find. I do have one other collection that I call a micro topic. It just consists of a single stamp. And maybe in a future video, I'll talk about that one and let you see what that stamp looks like and what the related items that I collect that prompted me to search out that type of stamp. So Kendama is on stamps. Again, look in the description of the video for some links to see what actual professional kendama players can do with the device. It's pretty amazing. Again, think about using things like these playthings, these skill toys, to attract or to sort of lure younger people into stamp collecting, and show them that there are things that may be more of interest to them that could be involved in this topical type of collecting. So that's it for episode 2. Again, if you like this episode, please give it a like, please subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for episode 3 coming up. It's in the works. I'm debating right now between a couple of different subjects for episode 3. So thanks for watching. Take care. Happy collecting.